The Stuck at Home Photography Challenge, day 4. Stay tuned. Hey gang, we're back. Day 4. What can we do? I really wasn't going to do a whole week worth of macro, but people have really been responding to the macro and I see a lot of people having fun with it. So since it's Friday and I am going to take the weekend off, I decided that I would go ahead and I would finish up with one last macro shot. And then next week, I'm giving myself a self-imposed rule: no macro for the week. That's going to make things a little tougher, but I'm in, right? So I found in my wife's little cache of cool things in the bathroom this cool little white loofah sponge. There it is, okay? And I decided it might be neat to add a lot of extra color and maybe some textures because it's just white. And while it's very cool, it's got neat shapes and all that, everything I've done this week has been about bright, bold color. So I figured, all right, what can I do? So let me just go through what's on the table here and what we're doing. I brought my laptop down. I'll explain why I'm going to use the laptop in just a second. I've got a little GoPro set up just so that I can show you close-ups of what I'm going to do right here because you're not going to see it from that camera angle. I have one LED light bulb. There it is. On just one of those little clamp hooks, but I'm not even really going to use the clamp. I'm just going to set it right on the table. I have two Lumis. These come from Spiffy Gear. These things are really cool. So actually, we'll start with a white one first. This one is all colors. Whoops, that's all the reds here. That changes the colors. There we go. Okay. And they're essentially slap bracelets. They obviously give you the ability to do lots of really cool different lighting. And you know, if you're a video person, you can set these things like in the corner. You can set them behind objects. Awesome. And then the black one that you see here, white, both daylight and tungsten balance. So it's got the dual color temperatures, etc. Again, so these are called Lumis. They come from Spiffy Gear. They have rechargeable batteries built in. They are awesome. So we're gonna play with those two things as a light source. My game plan was to use these two Lumis, but I realized not everybody has a Lumi. You can go buy them, spiffygear.com, but in the meantime, and this is not sponsored by the way, just saying, in the meantime, that's why I bought the LED light. So, water's for drinking, plenty of water these days, right? I'm shooting with the OMD EM1 Mark III from Olympus again today. We'll finish out the week with the Mark III. And I decided to go with the 30mm macro lens. I'm going to keep it really simple. My 12-100 is sitting here. That's simply because that's the lens that was on the camera when I set this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my laptop as the background. If you remember this video that I did about using a television as backgrounds for portraits, I'm using the same backgrounds that I have saved for my portrait backgrounds, but I'm going to use them to add some color and texture and lines and depth to these shots. So we're going to start out, and I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to turn this light on just to get a little bump of light here. I'm going to set that right there. And what I'm going to do, since I'm doing a lot of juggling here, meaning I'm holding the camera, I'm holding the prop, I'm trying to change and tweak my angles a little bit, I am going to work off of my LCD screen on the back of the camera. Again, not my favorite way to shoot, but it's great for problem solving, and so that's what we're going to do. And I've got my white balance on auto, which means that things are going to change frequently here. I'm at ISO 400, which I did a bunch of shots early in the week at ISO 400. 60th of a second at f4.5 is my starting point here, okay? So, and you know, again, hopefully part of what you're realizing with these abstracts that I've been doing all week is that there's not necessarily a right exposure. The right exposure is the one that gives you the effect that you like the most, okay? So I'm going to switch to a little bit more texture here. See what I think of that. And I'm going to bring it a little bit closer. In fact, I want to move my focus spot a little closer to the center of the frame for these. There we go. kind of doing like this half and half composition. Still not digging that a whole lot. Let's try another one. This is kind of like a wave of color here, but what I'm digging about this is I get kind of these curved lines in the background. So let's see here where we can play with those lines a little bit. That's it. Okay. Maybe let's try a different color here. We'll go down and find some other textures that, well, that's interesting with those waves. Let's see what we get there. So I want to stop my lens down just a bit, and that's kind of cool. Yeah. So I'm going to move the focus spot over again to the far left now for these compositions. Good. So right now, you can see I'm only using a little piece of the loofah, and then I'm incorporating part of the background. Once we change the lighting up a little bit, I'll go for the whole loofah. So I'm going to try another background here and see what we get. If I bring my shutter speed up, what that's also going to do is it's going to make that background a little darker. So by taking the loofah from this side where I had it for the last shot and moving it to this side, it makes the loofah brighter. That allows me to stop my shutter speed down a little bit. And I could do it with my aperture, but I only want a certain amount of depth of field. I don't want everything in focus. So I'm still sticking at the f4.5 here, and I'm at a shutter speed of 1/100th of a second right now. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. I'm liking that underneath. I hadn't thought about that before, but let's play with that a little more. For all you bokeh fiends out there, we'll do some bokeh. And we'll play around with some of that bokeh as the background. Love that like kind of half circle effect that I'm getting there. And obviously depth of field, right? If I get closer, I get more detail. Let's see if we got another. Ooh, so that's actually really interesting. The hard texture, and we're gonna leave it soft. So, it's a brick wall, but I'm gonna use it for its colors is really kind of what I'm after here. Again, we're mixing light sources here. I've got tungsten, I've got daylight coming in through the windows. I got a little bit of everything happening here, right? The whole idea with this, gang, is just try it, play with it, see what happens. Change one thing, see what you get. Change another thing, see what you get. So I'm still working right now at my 400 ISO. I haven't changed that. I've got shutter speed of 1/100th of a second. f3.5. So now, all right, let's kill this LED light for a second, and let's show you what happens, or what we can do, maybe with the Lumis. So I'm going to try the colored Lumi first, and I think I want to work with blue. So there we go, and I want that as bright as I can get it. So this is going to take a little bit of juggling here, I think, but let's see what we can come up with, right? Oh, and that's kind of what I was hoping for. The colors are going like all over the place here. So that's, all right, I need to hold this a little different, but I think this is going to be cool. So again, this is, it's a juggling act. I'm just going to play with this to see where I can get the light, how I can get some interesting color to come in. Yeah, that's really cool. See if we can tilt it a little bit to get those curves to kind of match up. So now, let's try and hold this a little differently. There we go. Oh, yeah. That's cool. Love what the blue light does, yeah. So now I wonder if I put that LED back in there, we get some blue, we get some yellow. Yeah, this is going to go all over the place now. That's kind of neat. So I want to really use that diagonal line that's happening right there. Good. Love those colors. That's really cool. All right, let's go way back down here. We're gonna try one more. Okay, I've got some interesting shots to work with here. Ooh, let's see what happens with that gold. And yeah, so now we're gonna light this thing up. We're just gonna basically get a lot of yellows cooking here, right? So I'm gonna put the light right over top of it, so you can see that there. And I'm gonna shoot right underneath. Find an there we go. There's an interesting set of lines. And you know what? The more I'm seeing that, the less I'm liking that. So yeah, I was all excited about that one, but sometimes it just doesn't kind of work out the way you thought it would, right? Okay. So there you have it. Loofah sponge, Loomies, LED light, computer screen with a bunch of different textures and backgrounds, etc. And I'll give you one bonus one for today, right? Always keep looking for possibilities. They are all around you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick a different texture here with these water drops. Let me turn the Loomies off. Or actually, you know what? Maybe if I make the Loomies as bright as we can be, I'll put that blue one down there on my keyboard like that. I'm going to turn the white one off. I'm going to turn the LED off. We'll get rid of that. And the bonus shot for the day, here it is, right? I'm going to take my water bottle here. And yeah, we definitely need a different color. And we'll go with blue. And I'm going to play with the bottom of the bottle. There you go. That's cool on the bottom. That's like really cool on the bottom. Where's my focus spot here? Let's move it over just a bit more. There we go. That's it. Here it comes. Here it comes. Okay, there's your bonus shot. Let's head to the office, see what we got. All right, gang, I'm back in the office. I have got this narrowed down already to 52 images. I shot a total of 175 images today. And you saw we did that really pretty quick. It was no more than 15 minutes. Normally, if this was something that I was really putting energy into, I'd shoot a lot more frames. I'd spend a lot more than 15 minutes. Just would. Right. So let's switch over to the screen here, and I'm going to show you my first pass of edits. These are the frames that I liked. And again, as I've been doing for most of the week, I'm going to do some heavy processing in RAW. I'm not doing compositing or any of that kind of crazy stuff. This is all, what can I get out of Camera Raw while I'm processing my digital negatives? That's the idea here, okay? So as we go through these, you see how I changed the different textures. Here you can see where we started to bring the Loomies into it, where we've got the blue color, and then we've got the mix from the tungsten bulb. Here we get a little bit more of that yellow mix from the tungsten being a little bit closer and brighter. I mean, I honestly really love the color schemes on these a lot. So there is the whole group. And then our bonus shots at the end, the water bottle. It's amazing what you can do with a water bottle if you put something cool behind it, right? All right, so that was the first pass. I nailed that all the way down to 9 frames. I picked a couple extra today since I've got the water bottle as the bonus. So just like I've done all week, we're going to do 6 frames from our daily challenge with the little loofah sponge, and we're going to do 3 frames with the bottle, right? So let's go ahead. I'm going to open these all up in Camera Raw just like I've been doing all week. Now that we're in Camera Raw, I'm going to select all of the images, and I'm going to dial in my usual. I'll go ahead and give 30 on the vibrance, 5 on the saturation. Since these are abstracts and not portraits, I'll go ahead with the 15 on the clarity, switch to the sharpening panel, go to 60 on sharpening, and as always, remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections, right? So now that I've got that in, I just want to double check, because remember yesterday I missed getting all of them. I do have the little icon for processing on every one, so that's cool. Now we're going to go to this first image, go back to the basic panel, and let's play. So since D Haze has been my favorite slider of the week, let's go ahead and grab it. And that's interesting, but this is a situation where for me, D Haze is not the answer. Maybe a piece of the solution, but not the answer. So I'm going to zero that one out. First thing I want to do is I want to come in and I want to see what happens if I pull my highlights down. And I do start to pick up a little bit more detail. Notice down here in the bottom, and that's what I want. I don't mind that I've lost the detail in here. not often you'll hear me say I don't mind losing detail, but it kind of adds to the airiness and almost eeriness kind of this image. So I'm going to pull those all the way down, and I want to go ahead and bring my blacks down a little bit to really kind of put some contrast in there. And then actually where I would like to play is not dehaze, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring the clarity up, which is also going to give it a little bit of a rougher edging on some of the texture that's on the end of these little loofah spines. And I'm honestly kind of digging that. I wonder what will happen if we push the saturation a bit more and those blues get kind of really supernatural there. And then I am curious, since I'm seeing some magenta, like pink, purplish in there, I'm going to go up to the tint slider first, and I'm going to play, oh yeah, see, if I give the whole thing just a little bit of tint, I can pull more of that in. And then let's go to hue, saturation, and luminance, and let's see what happens if we play. Whoops, I'm on the luminance panel. Don't want to be there. Let's go to saturation, but now I know that I do have some purple in there, and even the magenta, but they're not doing a huge boost. Blues especially, oh yeah. And what happens if I bring the luminance down on the blue just a bit? Bingo. I'm digging that, totally. From a composition standpoint, let's go ahead and do our crops in raw. I know I got lazy with that one yesterday. For me, I'm kind of digging it right in there. Part of the reason that is I like having that little eerie glow at the bottom, but I don't want a lot of it because it pulls all my attention down there. So I don't really see all the cool detail. And if I come up to the top here, I've got this highlight line in the background. This was from that blue wave background. I've got that highlight that comes up and runs into the corner. So I like the way I get that little bit of a leading line. Now for this one, we don't have as much color. Let's go back out to our basic panel here. So right out of the box, understand that I can have a lot of fun with this just by saying, hey, like, what direction do I want to go? I mean, we want to make French fries today? We've got French fries. Look at that. Don't even have to go to McDonald's. But I'm going to go ahead, go back to the as shot for now. And again, I'm going to push that clarity right up. See how the detail comes in on the ends of these little sponge pieces, right? And yeah, you'll notice there's little bits of junk in here. I'm going to have to clean that up. I honestly did not see them. I thought I had that thing pretty clean. I'm going to bring my highlights up a little bit more. Play with the dehaze a tad, but here's where I really want to kind of add to this. I want to come in and I want to, whoops, I'm on luminance again. Go back to saturation. I want to really grab that blue. And it looks to me like I've got yellow going on in here, and I do. That's because of that tungsten balanced LED light, right? Now I'll go ahead and I'll play with those to create some contrast. So notice how I'm using the luminance sliders, and essentially I'm creating more contrast by lightening and darkening specific areas of the image, right? So there's a lot of ways to get things done where you've got much more subtle control. And if we really wanted to get crazy, let's say that we don't want to have that blue in the background. Maybe we want to go purple. Boom. Just grab the hue slider and play with that. Or if we want to, give it more of a teal feel. Same goes with the yellows. We can come up here and actually, oh, look at that. It's kind of cool when they start to glow a little bit, right? And I have a feeling, even though I didn't play with it here, I have a feeling that we've got some orange. Yeah, and we do. There's some orange in there too. So I don't know that I'm actually going to change a whole lot with that. I think that's where I'm going to leave that. I want to lighten the image a little bit more, and then I'm going to bring my blacks down a little bit more. And for this, my crop is going to come in right in there like so. Yep. Next up. Love when we get into kind of all these pastel colors. They're just a lot of fun. They are. So again, let's check out this dehaze. And that's kind of extreme, but it's also kind of interesting. Let's bring that back so it's got just a little bit there. And I'm going to use the highlights, see what happens. And I don't really get much of a change here, so we'll leave those there. Definitely pull my blacks down to get some contrast. If I want to play overall, I do like seeing a little bit more of that blue and that purple in there. That's cool. But now we're going to go into the hue, saturation, and luminance. And here's where I'm going to really kind of play with these colors to see what we can get out of them. Okay, so I'm actually really liking what I've got happening here with color. Wonder what happens if I lighten those aquas a little bit. Yeah, just to get that, see how that little edge right here starts to glow a little bit more. And then the blue will darken it. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's cool. So let's come back out. And I think we're in pretty good shape there. So now the question is, where do we want this? I think I'm going to take this lower bit here, so I get the little bit of space below the sponges here. Challenge is if I come up to here and I include this bright spot up here, it's bright, right? So it's kind of pulling the tension away. So by bringing my crop down, I limit that a little bit more. And I don't do this often. You guys see that I usually use pretty much the full width of my frame. I'm going to crop in just a little bit tighter, and I'm kind of digging that, yeah. So now, same kind of idea here. We got a lot of color that we can play with on this one. Let's see what, oh my goodness, look at that. As soon as we push that dehaze, the yellow really starts to jump out. I'm going to pull the blacks down. Yeah, this is extreme. And even the clarity can come up a little bit. So we do that. We come back into our hue, saturation, and luminance. And, I'm curious, what happens if I play with these? I'm kind of liking the orange vibe there. And then you know what? The more I think about it, no, I'm not. Let's pretend I never even said that. What I am going to do is, you know what? The more that I'm looking at this, okay, let me reset these. I'll be really honest with you. I think that little bit of extra yellow that's coming out from the dehaze, I'm not liking it as much. I want to be able to be a little bit more subtle with it. Again, the problem with any of these sliders, when you go really heavy on the numbers, which I've been doing some of that this week because this is abstract stuff, doesn't matter. But understand, when you go heavy on the numbers, it sometimes it's just going to be too much. It kind of gets to, just be completely overblown. And that indeed was a little bit of what was happening there. So, and again here, let's go back. Now that we're in the hue, saturation, and luminance, I'm curious, what if I throw a little bit more orange? And now still not digging that orange. So we're going to leave that out, period. Yeah. Now that's different. So notice when we start to bring those blues over towards the purple end of the spectrum, we're changing the whole left-hand side of the image over here, and we're deepening where there already was blue, because blue's got a little bit of magenta in it, right? It just does. So I'm actually really digging that. And now I want to go to the luminance. And so remember, it's the blue slider, even though it looks purple, right? It's the blue slider. I'm going to pull that down for a little more contrast. I can play with the purple, but it's a smaller piece of the image. So we're going to bring that down there. And even the yellows, bring them down just a little bit. You know what? That's kind of cool. I'm digging that. So pull my highlights down a little. And the blacks. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's like very different. Okay, cool. Now, composition on that one. Where are we going to go with this? So let's grab a 16:9 frame. And again, I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I want to keep it darker down in this bottom left-hand corner. A little bit light here. Let it fade out. But, yeah, I'm digging that a lot. Or the other option is, now that I did that, let's go ahead and try a square crop here for a second. And what do we get if we come up into the center? Yeah, no, that's just messy. Not digging that at all. So we're going to go with a 16:9. And we're going to keep it up pretty high. Yeah, totally. All right, next one. Love the pastels on this. I love the diagonal line that I've got going through here. And see the dehaze here. So dehaze is just, on this set of color schemes, it's really just pushing things really far really fast. So this one, I want to keep it kind of really soft and pastel-like.
So we're going to use the clarity to kind of keep that sharpness in there. We'll pull those highlights down just a little bit. There we go. And then from the color standpoint, there's some really interesting stuff here. So let's go back and whoops, Adobe Color, we want that. Let's leave that as shot. Just hit the tints a little bit. No, same thing. As shot. And then let's go back into hue, saturation, and luminance. A little bit more blue. A little bit more yellow. We got some purple in there. Even a little magenta. But since there's not a lot of magenta, I'm actually going to pull most of that out. And then from a color standpoint, we'll actually darken that yellow ever so slight. You can play with the background. Yeah, so I'm liking that. We've got 9x16 here. Let's go and hit the crop. And again, I want that diagonal line to be coming out of the corner. If you guys haven't picked up on it by now, I do a lot of diagonal lines. Diagonal lines are great because they kind of control where your viewer's eye is going to go, right? So it gives you, the photographer, a little bit of control to make sure people see and experience what you want them to. All right, and this guy, that's really tempting, but no. So interesting enough, dehaze is not the slider of the day today. I'm kind of liking that clarity thing there. And I really do actually want to lighten this one a whole lot. So what I'm doing is I'm basically pulling the blacks down to make sure they still have a little bit of contrast. But I'm also then pulling everything up to lighten it. So I've got that clarity way high to make sure that I'm getting that little bit of micro contrast and detail in there. And from a color standpoint, saturate those yellows a little bit more. There's some oranges in there. There's even a little bit of red in there. And on those colors, we can bring those a little darker. Yeah. And now I can go back even, and I can make this image just a tad lighter yet. And I think I'm ready to crop that thing. So for this, really go right in there. Love it. All right, now our water bottles. So now this one's actually slightly blurry. There's a little bit of camera motion here. I was working at a pretty slow shutter speed. So I am, I'm going to take advantage of that, actually. And let's just see what we can do here. We're going to bring our highlights up a little bit, bring our blacks down. I don't know that this one needs a whole lot. Well, actually, if we do a little bit of dehaze and then bring the color up. Cool. And so now I can come over to here and let's try play with our hues just a little bit. Yeah, so we're going to take that a little bit of that magenta out. See that by pulling the purple out and then pulling the magenta over. What I'm doing is I'm shifting those to the blue side of the spectrum. And I have an idea for this when I get the image all the way into Photoshop, so I'm not going to crop this one yet. We're going to come back to that for the cropping. And this one here, really liking the kind of the wavy lines here. There's pieces of this that are in focus, pieces of this that are completely blurry. So, I mean, to me, it's really, really interesting. Saturation, really want to jazz those blues, jazz the cyans, and let's see how this is going to look from a crop standpoint. I really like having a little bit of a diagonal line, but I think what I might do here actually is twist this one just a tad more. Yeah, I really like that. And then the last one, here it is. So for this one, back out to our develop panel. First thing I want to do is I want to pull those highlights way down. See how they pick up the blue when I pull them down, right? It was there. It's just a matter of, getting it into the shot. Let's see where we get from the dehaze. Now here's one shot today where we're picking up really interesting color when we do that. So let me go ahead and come in here to my hue, saturation, and luminance, and let's bring some of that orange into play. Look how cool that is, even some of the yellow. I'm still going to jazz the blue just a little. And in luminance, I'm going to go ahead and actually darken the blue just a little. Now we'll go back out to the panel here, basic panel, pull the blacks down a little bit. Highlights are down. Really digging that. So for this, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and crop into the image a little bit more. Again, a little more than what I usually do. So we'll give that a shot. All right, so I've got all 9 of these processed. Let's head into Photoshop. We'll do a little bit of the finishing, take off some of those dust spots and specks, and we'll see what we have. I'm going to open all those images into Photoshop. All right, gang, I've got my first image up in Photoshop, so the very first thing that I'm going to do is add a clear layer, get my healing brush, set it to, I don't know, 30 pixels or so. I want a hard edge on it 100%, and make sure that we can do current and below on the adjustments. And now I want to come in, I'm going to switch over to my tablet and my pen. And oops, let me get my mouse out of the way. There we go. And I want to clean up some of the little kind of dust spots and that were on this thing that, to me, just make things look a little bit sloppy. So we're going to fix up a few of those kind of things. Maybe tidy up a couple edges. That's it for the healing tool. I'm going to go to my clone stamp, 100% hardness. Again, bring it down to like, 38 or so. I mean, it just happens to be the number that's there. 100% opacity also. And I want to kind of clean up some edges. But now, as soon as I did that, I realized I don't want it at 100% hardness. I want to bring it down maybe around 80. How's that sound? Let's see what we get if we do that. Yeah, and you know what? Maybe not. The clone stamp is not going to be the ideal way to clean some of this stuff up. Some of it we can. Some of it, not so much, right? So I think part of that is I need to go to a much lower opacity, and then we'll go ahead and see what we can do with that. All right. So, again, it's not about having them be perfect. I'm just looking for things that, to me, seemed like a little bit of a distraction is really kind of what I'm doing. I'm just looking, for me, to find things that kind of seem like a little bit of a distraction, just tidy them up a little bit. But all in all, that's pretty much where that one's going to go. So, of course, I'm going to put in my gray layer, 50% neutral gray, and switch over here to my gradient tool. And let's just see what we get when we tone things down just a little bit. My main reason for hitting up in this corner is I didn't want to have it bright white running right off the edge. You notice I managed to darken that a little bit to put a little bit of color in there. What that does for me is it kind of prevents your eye from running straight up out of the frame. I am going to darken this corner a little, darken that. Yeah, there we go. Now, I am seeing one spot that I really did a bad job on with my healing tool here. Let me just fill that in. There we go. And cool. So that's going to be that one right there. And next up, so this one, unfortunately, this has a lot of little bits and pieces of dirt that I clearly missed. So we got to pay the price and clean these up. There we go. Sit. I really need them to stop.
Okay, come on, let's go. We're going. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Now. Good job.
Now, again, ideally, all of these things would have been cleaned up before I shot. But I'm not going to lie, this detail is so small, it's actually really hard to see it sometimes. So I'm not saying that as an excuse like, oh, it's okay. I probably should have spent a little bit more time being thorough and, looking for all of those little spots. And of course, I didn't. So I'm paying the price now. So once again, I can't stress it. A lot of you might look at it and say, well, nobody's really going to notice that, or it's not that big a deal. It's a small detail. Details are extremely, extremely important, right? They just are. So, the more attention that you pay to detail, the cleaner your images are going to appear. The more impressed people will be with your images. They just will. So I'm adding my gray layer in there. Same thing here. I want to get a little bit of color by darkening that side so the white doesn't run off. I definitely want it to be dark in the corner, so I'm kind of highlighting, these little pieces that are coming up along the edge there, and that's really, there it is. I'm digging that. I think what I may do, hit a, not a layer, sorry, hit an adjustment layer here for some levels, and just give that a little bit more of a pop. Boom, there it is. Really liking that. Okay. All right. Next one here. So the good news is this one's actually pretty clean. There's not a whole lot of retouching that needs to happen here. Whoops, I'm on the wrong tool also. So let's try that again and go to healing brush. Tidy up a couple little spots. Again, the good news is there's not a lot here that's really distracting. A little bit of clone stamp. Tidy up some of these really rough edges. And awesome for me. I mean, that one's not needing a whole lot more. So I'm going to do my dodge and burn. So obviously you're also figuring out, I do this dodge and burn thing a lot. And I do it because, again, it's actually another piece of my lighting. It's allowing me to kind of tweak the lighting a little bit more so that I'm putting the attention, right where I want it. I'm getting people to look at the parts of my image that I'm interested in having them see. All right, but I'm digging that one. We're done there. Ooh, and our purple shots. This one also, this was looking fairly clean. Let me just add a new layer there really quick. And I want to clean up this corner. And I don't see too much else that I need to hit here at all. So I think for this one, I can go right to my dodging and burning. And I'm going to pencil in on this just a tad. Since that was a hard brush and I can see those lines, I'm just going to go ahead now and take that whole gray layer and blur it out 30 pixels. Those lines disappear, and that image ready to go. All right, this one does need a little bit of healing brush. So we're just going to tidy up those few spots where we've got some imperfections and a little piece of dust or lint, whatever that is. Okay. That's it. Very cool. And this one, actually, I'm not going to darken or play with that. I want, just one little corner here up at the top. I want to, yeah. I'm going to make this corner, this kind of end, darker so that it's basically pushing everything in that direction. And then we'll go ahead and we'll hit just a little on this side. It's almost like I can't help myself. Got to put that little vignette in there. I just don't like traditional looking vignettes, right? That's the key. All right, last one of the loofah sponge. There we go. Come in here. I want to tidy up the edges. Since this one's so prominent, I'm going to kind of tidy up the edge a little bit there. In fact, let's use the clone stamp for some of this. There we go. Cool. And even up in here. Okay, so now for this one, let's clean up that corner. There we go. Awesome. Dodge and burn layer. Darken this corner a tad. Bottom, whoops, that was a bit much. Bottom edge here, there we go. And then way down into there. And way down from there. And that's it. There it is. Okay. All right, so this is the one I told you I didn't want to crop until later. So what I'm going to do here, actually, is I'm going to make a second layer of this. I just copied it. And I'm going to bring the opacity down to like 60%. And by the way, I don't know if this is going to work. It's just an idea, so we're going to see. And what I'm going to do is just hit free transform, grab it, and I'm going to twist it a little bit. Like, let's go 40%. Okay. And then I'm going to copy that layer and do, let's see, free transform again. Copy it some more. Copy that layer. Edit. Free transform. So each of these copied layers, by the way, are, coming in at 40%, right? So now what I need to do, though, here, let's take out that bottom one. I need to see where I can crop the image and yeah, so let's go there. Let's turn that back on. And now what I want to do is do an adjustment layer. And we're going to work with levels. Turn that way down. And then, no, that's actually, we're not going that far down. Kind of cool. Now, one more thing. I'm going to make a clear layer. I'm going to sample this really, really dark blue and do like a little area there. And I'm going to fill that. And now I want to try some blend modes really quick just to see what happens. Whoops, let's deselect that. Try some blend modes to see where I get something that's maybe kind of functional. So up here, actually the color dot, well, you know what? Let me try one more thing here. Let's go darken for a second. Yeah, so I think that's actually going to be the way to go. Let me give an eraser tool. Super, super soft brush. Nice big, really big. Good. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. It just turns down that, it dials that highlight down a little bit. And then, of course, do my gradient here. Now there's enough there that, I can get it dark so that it's not like the latest part of the frame. Okay. And something different. That's it. I'm going to play with contrast. I hardly ever play with contrast, but, I'm beyond the camera raw part now, right? So we're going to hit that contrast just a little. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, completely abstract, right? It's blurry, nothing's in focus, but it's interesting. It's got cool lines. It's interesting to look at. This one, honestly, this one needs nothing except some lighting control. So to further make it look round, I'm going to make sure that I'm really darkening this top line here. I'm going to darken what leads into it. Darken this bottom corner so that it pushes you up. Boom, done. That's it. Love that. Okay. And then our last one, really, really cool color. And this one's kind of the same thing. I'm going to go right to adding a bunch of crazy color to this by just darkening spots. Use a brush now. Color some spots here. And then the one that really needs it is kind of right in here. Tone that down. And then we're going to blur that thing. Boom, so you can't see it. And there it is, gang. We've got ourselves 6 images. Well, 9 images, okay? So let's go back. We'll take a look again. For our loofah sponge, image number 1, image number 2, image number 3, image number 4, number 5, and number 6. For the water bottle bonus, our blurry image that we've layered over several times and made it even blurrier yet. The close-up section of the water bottle where it is indeed in focus, but also such shallow depth of field, it's really almost impossible to tell what that is. And last, the bottom of the bottle with the computer screen as the background. So there you have it. Simple props, stuff I had around the house. I think that my cover shot for the day, let's see here. I think what I'm going to go with, I've done 2 blue covers already this week. So as much as I'm kind of really digging that picture right there, so I'm going to take that one as my pick of the day, mainly because I've got a lot of extra color in it. I like the water bottle, but yeah, this was our chosen subject. So there you have it, gang. There's a week worth of those challenges. A lot of you have been posting some amazing stuff in my Facebook group. Please keep it up. I'm going to have some announcements next week regarding some prizes that we're going to be able to add into the mix in addition to the consultations that I'm giving away. I am going to take the weekend off, 2 days, from doing these videos because I need to get caught up on some other things. But I will be back on Monday. Already, I've promised you no macro lenses next week, right? So everything I do next week is still going to be abstract. I'm sticking with my abstract theme, but no macro lenses. If I do any kind of close-ups, it's going to have to be as close as I can get with, you know, regular lenses that are not macro. So stay safe, stay healthy. Please go pick up your camera and shoot something, because your best shot, it's your next shot, gang. Adios.